Based on his statistical profile at the moment with how he is driving it off the tee, you could probably expect him to be pulling a few prickers of cacti out of him by some point on the weekend.
Entering the Mayo Experience.
Mayo Experience. Mayo Experience. Mayo Experience. Experience.
Welcome to the Pat Mayo Experience Waste Management, or WM, Phoenix Open Picks. Bets, one and done. A recap of Pebble. LIV is on the docket this week, and Bear Off RE DM me with an outrageous Euro bet that, of course, I took. I will reveal that in a moment. Geoff Fienberg on the line with me right now. I know that you'll smash the like, you'll sub to Mayo Media Network, but we've talked about this for probably the 11 years that we've been on this show. When Rory goes into nuclear mode, you're like, oh yeah, this is what happens, and he's like the best player.
And it's enjoyable to watch. Didn't have a bet in the race.
No.
So seeing Rory be Rory, you hit two winners in a row. It doesn't feel so bad seeing like the great player be great on the great course. It didn't come without more PGA Tour punching themselves in their own dick, but hey, we're here again on a Monday.
It just, you don't see the flashes as often because the field has gotten so competitive. And Scottie leading the field in approach, yet only coming in ninth place, is not something that happens very often. So you got to get your wins where you can get them. But we don't really ever see Rory win in America this early in a year.
Nope, we do not. Usually, right?
Bay Hill.
Well, that's the other. I mean, Scottie, geez, kind of got to own it. Not that my guys finished second place, but I did think Scottie and Rory were vulnerable this week, which made me bet a couple other guys in the high teens, which was stupid. And it was ominous to see statistically what Scottie was doing and to see Rory play so great. Had Scottie won, I would have probably been sitting here saying I'm reevaluating everything. I'm not doing this all over again. His stat profile makes you think he can win by a touchdown on from last week. Makes you think he can win by a touchdown from this week. But I don't know. It's probably a good sign. Let the great players be great. Golf probably needs that now more than ever.
Yeah, and it was just there was one shot in particular on Sunday, and the Saturday round was awesome to watch. Although the guys who played towards the end of the round ended up coming out of the wind a little bit, so they got a little bit easier of a task. Kind of like the guys that got out really early. It was that middle grouping pairs that all kind of got screwed with the extreme wind. I'm glad they didn't call it. It was a fun watch, and that's kind of what we want to see. Guys struggling out there from time to time at an iconic course. And then you see on Sunday, the weather is, it's windy, it's somewhat cold, but you can make your shots. And I just thought it was a great weekend at Pebble Beach. I love watching golf at Pebble Beach, and I love watching the top players play at Pebble Beach at the same time. But Rory's drive all week on number 14 at Pebble, where he was cutting the trees and being 30, 40 yards past everyone else down. But you see Straka and Lowry I think Lowry hit a 3-iron or whatever it was as the second shot and into the par 5. Straka hit a 7-wood, and you can see the shot that they're trying to play. They're trying to play a bit of a draw, start it out right and try to, so when it hits, it bounces in and cuts towards the hole. And I see Rory's shot, and I forget that he's so much farther up. I see that he has a 7-iron in his hands, and he just takes dead aim at this pin from 201 yards. I was like, oh no, he's going to end up buried in that bunker. It's like, oh no, he's hitting a 7-iron. He knows he can flight this perfectly and get it to stop. It was just an amazing shot. From that point, I was like, oh, unless Rory puts it in the water on 18, this is clear sailing.
I have mixed emotions about it. I mean, clearly, for the tournament and the week, it is incredible. But for where the sport, to hit a 7-iron, they showed a clip, at least on the internet, it went viral, of Tom Kite playing that hole at the U.S. Open in 92, trying to get to the green in 2. It wasn't a 7-iron coming home. Rory hit it so far, the TV cameras had no idea where it was.
Yeah, but I like that, though. If Rory can find a hack to that hole, and he's the only guy in the field who can do it, that's his advantage.
I guess.
No one was mad at Bryson for hitting it 360 yards at the U.S. Open into the rough at Wingfoot and just dominating.
No, I think, well, hold on a second. The conversation I'm kind of alluding to, I think a lot of people were up in arms about it. But no, I don't. Gonna do that. You can do that. You can hit a 7-iron into that par 5. Let her rip. It's beautiful to watch. But I am just of the side who is like 150% behind rolling the fuck back everything. Just for pros, though. Just for pros. We go to the yard. We play with whatever the fuck we want. Whatever we want. And the manufacturers will cry about it. Fuck off. Fuck off.
I'm with you. Roll it back, make it more challenging. But it's not like everyone in the field had a 7-iron in here. Rory had a very particular set of skills. Like he was Liam Neeson and Taken and just got to flight in. Like Straka hit a 7-wood into it and didn't get there.
I mean, Rory can drive the ball in a way few others can. I imagine next year we'll get there and we'll probably see more of those other heavy hitters try to do the exact same thing.
I don't know if they can do it or not, because they were talking to Immelman on the broadcast about it. I think it was Immelman who they were talking to. It's like, can you do this? He's like, I can't hit the ball. Like I would hit it into the middle of that tree. Like I can't hit my driver that high. Like that's the advantage that Rory has here. His ball flight is just so high. He can clear this stuff. And the other big hitters don't necessarily have that same skill.
For me, other than Rory winning, the biggest takeaway, and I was out skating, Pat, with my kids, outdoor rink, a beautiful, nice little light snowfall down the street here. Lovely. And my phone lit up. It lit up like a Christmas tree at 3 o'clock, 3:05 about how CBS handled the leaders on the 7th hole.
I was in and out as well. No one really hits me up with that stuff anymore. I just don't care because I'm just streaming like whatever I have on my phone anyway, or I'm listening to the radio broadcast because I too was out. It was a daddy weekend. The wives were away. We were all stuck with the kids. And like I had an awesome time all weekend. There was birthday.
Self-aware enough to know that football, there's no fucking football. So it's like turn about.
When my wife asked me like, what would be a good week for me to go away with the girls? I was like, why don't you pick the week between championship weekend and Super Bowl? Because I can just be at home and follow golf that way if I want to. And, I'll be able to watch basically everything. Yeah, we were out sledding. We were out skating. Had some birthday parties to go to. I don't know if I could be a single dad, though, man. It'd be a rough scene.
Oh, rough. Never. No, but it's good. Like I said, it's good to have it's good to have a buddy who is a single dad because, he can be available to hang out. Well, your other friend, let's say your wife took away the kids this weekend. You need like a single dad who doesn't have the kids to hang out with because all your other friends are doing exactly what you were doing. And I'm not no offense, I love my friends' kids, but if I got free time, I'm not hanging out with them when I don't have my kids.
Yeah, no, you're just chill. I almost thought about calling my mom, but I was like, hey, do you want to take the kids Friday night? And just what am I doing? Just I'll put the kids to bed. I'll go to sleep early. It's what I was going to do anyway. So that's what we did.
But yeah, I mean, just, that's been a big topic of debate. And I sent out a tweet that got a lot of traction a couple weeks ago. Some people disagreed with it. People say it's 50-50. It's presentation. Fifth place, there aren't LIV players. And this was a perfect example of that hole with these guys. It's Pebble Beach. They are just punching themselves in their own dick. Self-inflicted mutilation is what the PGA is doing while they are sort of got this. Maybe there's an outrage bubble, Pat, because this pace of play shit. We've been yelling about it for a decade. It's nice to see they want to start shaming players, or they're claiming they're going to, and broadcasters starting to feel more comfortable doing it. But now, is the pace of play thing just an outrage moment on Twitter? Or
yeah.
Okay,
so think about it this. So think about it this way.
But the spotlight is there, and they do what they do with the leaders on Sunday. I don't know what the fix is, but it's part of the pure totality of the arrangement, which will lead between the different networks and the gaps. And there are just so many different things to point at as to why the presentation fucking sucks. And they hit it out of the park again yesterday in what was a big moment for them. I was outside, but it's bad for them. It's bad for them.
I mean, can you explain what you're talking about? Because you kind of talked around it. What is it?
Well, they did. Well, they did not show the leaders play 7 on Pebble Beach. They were in that window. It was right at 3 o'clock. The basketball game was still going. If you were a golf fan, you either were seeing the Bahrain Open on Golf Channel replay.
Yeah, I couldn't
Boy Cantor.
My boy Joe Dean, the birdie machine, ran out of birdies towards the end and couldn't get it going. I'm betting him again this week though.
Cantor's my mom's maiden name, so I always cheer for him. I mean, I don't bet that stuff, but that's a guy it's easy for me to cheer for. And they were watching the last 30 seconds of college basketball. So it just left like people who love the tour and even casuals like befuddled that they couldn't, that was, missing from the presentation of the product. Presentation. The pace of play thing, I agree with you. I think that's an outrage moment. Now, we're lucky that it's gaining traction and they're actually saying they might do things, which is rare for them. But I do believe it's just like an outrage moment and they don't actually care. And part of them are just like this internet outrage. It'll blow by. But the presentation is a real problem. It's a real problem. Pace of play is a part of that. But what an epic fucking self-mutilation, in my opinion.
I don't know if there's anything they could have done about that, though. If this broadcast had been on NBC, I think that they have a bit more leniency to put the rights back on Golf Channel. But where this was a CBS event, I don't think that they're legally allowed to do that by their contract.
But again, that just goes back to me. There's a lot of 100 different knives as to why the presentation fails. And this is a big one.
And look,
and a big moment got caught up in those.
Listen, it's an iconic hole. You want to see it. It should have been there. I agree with you. It's bad optics. It's bad for anyone who likes it. But overall, I thought just watching it on Saturday and Sunday, I thought it was pretty good. I enjoyed it.
It always can always bring you back. That's the great part about it. Just how everyone's complaining about golf right now, or that people weren't watching Sepp Straka win during football. Fuck off. Golf can always bring us back with a great spring and those important summer events. Nothing that happens at this time of the year, isn't recoverable from. But again, it's just while the eyeballs are on them of their presentation in many ways lacking and the issues with the product, that was just, you're right. Could they have done something? Probably not, because we understand the logistics of how it works. But it's just another example of how it's set up leads to a failed presentation. And the people who love it the most got to dance harder than anyone else. Nobilo felt comfortable calling out Tom Kim, which was nice this week. So it's nice that they're feeling comfortable.
So it's one. It's one
thing.
To
shame them.
Okay, good. Shame them all they want, but part of this is on the broadcast partners as well. If you want to criticize Tom Kim for slow play, there's nothing he really could have done on 18. He put the ball in the water. He had to go find out where it went. Then he had to walk back to the tee. That's a bad shot.
Pre-shot is the. I can show you a clip.
I understand that, Jeff, but the broadcaster doesn't have to show the whole fucking 2 minutes of him warming up to take a shot. You know what they could show? 4 other shots in between and cut back to him.
Yeah, you're right. And they want to be there live, and they're not sure when he's actually going to go.
Then you know what? You're Tom Kim. You get put on tape delay for 5 seconds.
It's not just the fucking players. It's both. I don't disagree with you. You don't got to get mad at me about that.
No, I'm so fucking sick of talking about ratings. And I'm part of it too, because I've done it for ages. But I thought this was an enjoyable tournament. I wanted to talk about golf. And what happens every single fucking week is we have to talk about slow play and all this. This is an internet bubble thing. My dad's not fucking complaining about this.
Firstly, as for the pace of play, apparently Thursday and Friday, they were the best they'd ever been at this event. And in overall, they were inside the broadcast windows. My conversation doesn't even have to be specific to this week. I like the fact that what the PGA Tour, at least they're claiming, is that their first attempt at making this better is going to be shaming players. They are going to list who the problem makers are. They are going to show the documented numbers on who the problem makers are. No one's going to want to be shamed. None of the players. So I think maybe that is a good starting point. Will it fix it? Probably not, because there's so much money at stake. Who the fuck is going to leave their routine for a couple internet losers yelling at them on a podcast or on Twitter? So it probably won't fix anything. And you're like I said, I acknowledge. Part of me thinks this pace of play thing is just of the moment outrage outrage internet because it's kind of been happening forever. And I don't know what's different now than it was when we were talking about it 8 years ago, other than more people are talking about it.
A lot of it has to do with like the ratings aspect to it. Well, and I did 2 basketball shows on Friday and Sunday, weirdly enough. And I so rarely talk about basketball, but stuff was going on. So I had Greg on, who had the Terry Rozier tweet. Go check out that show. Greg was an awesome guest. That was a lot of fun. But the biggest thing from it was he was like, he's like, I don't understand the ratings talk. If you don't like basketball, why do you care what the ratings are? If you like basketball, what do you care what the ratings are? And I feel the same way about golf. Like, if you don't like it, who cares? If you do like it, who cares? It's not like it's canceled for season 48. It's going to be on TV.
So I do not give a shit about the ratings. And I think people who are complaining about the ratings while football's still happening are even crazier than people who want to complain about them in the summer. That being, I'm more of a presentation guy. I don't know, is the time of the product part of that? Sure, it's a small piece, but I don't care. I like what I like. It's not going anywhere. The NBA, I think this year in a couple ways just showed how truly powerful it still is, despite, again, the internet outraging from earlier in the year of how like bad or boring the product is. Like when the NBA product people perceive it to be bad or boring, like that is so big on Twitter. It is like the biggest Twitter discourse. When the NBA makes a trade, it is like the biggest thing people are talking about. So I don't know, almost in the high and the low, it showed you how powerful the NBA still really is. And any notion that it isn't is probably pretty fucking silly.
The problem is that again, I am as guilty of this as anyone else. So are you. But we've turned a lot of this podcast into talking about this sort of stuff rather than, like, I want to talk about Rory. I want to talk about the Tom Kim slow play because I put that on CBS for continuing to show him. Show other shots. Use some editing tricks. Like, cut to different camera. Show other player. It's not like the most advanced broadcasting method, but it's something that you can try to figure out to make it a bit more palatable and entertaining. Then no one even knows that Tom Kim is a slow player, like at all. Like you can hide that, and the viewers would have no idea. And you just continue to roll it out, and the players would be mad about it, and you can go on. But like we're 20 minutes in. I haven't talked about Lee Hodges. Lee Hodges on the 72nd hole is something I want to talk about. Cam Davis probably had the fucking shot of the year. It cost me $7,300. That was no fun, but it was an amazing shot. Like that's the stuff we need to be talking about again.
You're not wrong, but the presentation, I get it's still all of this. People, I guess, want I don't know. I guess it all comes back to Tiger in some ways. And as golf fans, we probably just need to be more
move on.
Receptive.
Tiger's done.
And
move on.
And like I said last week, the NFL's got our dads 20 yards off the ball telling us where it's down. Like in some ways, we need to be more apologetic to the PGA Tour, who is far inferior to the NFL, and who still has as problems big as anything the PGA has. So you're right. The internet, it's a lot of outrage, and there was great golf, and you're not wrong. Saturday was fun to watch. Even if it took an extra 40 minutes, that probably wouldn't have bothered me. I would have had to get up more, but I was freezing out, and I was comfortable indoors. I wasn't looking to get anywhere. And I don't even know, like, to a point JT made, the pace of play stuff, like what are they trying to do? Save 15 minutes? I'm not really sure. I'm not really sure what the end goal is here other than to probably survive internet outrage. But shaming, I think, would be a great start. And it looks like they're willing to do that. And maybe they leave Tom Kim on for so long because now that's their goal, is to shame. Because you're right. They don't need to protect the players like they used to. They can protect their presentation by showing us 3 shots in that window. And if we're 8 seconds late for Tom Kim pulling the trigger, who fucking cares other than the live better? And fuck that. Like, who cares? The broadcast isn't about you.
Also,
so you're right.
Better's going to bet anyway. Like, we want them to cater towards us because we're betting on it, but we're going to bet it on it regardless. If we couldn't watch it on TV, we'd bet on it. I bet on the Euro Tour. I barely watch it. I'm going to bet on LIV this week. Maybe I'll tune in to see, like, the spectacle of it all, but maybe not.
It lives at night.
Yeah,
I'd like to potentially bet that thing. I
Yeah.
think that could be that'll be fun.
yeah, sure. It's not the course you think it is, though. It's a different course from the one that Brooks won. I looked into it.
Yeah, I mean, there's not many courses with fucking floodlights.
Right, that's true. So hold on. There's a few different things here. So what happened with Cam Davis was Cam Davis got himself into the roots of the tree by the 18th green on the 72nd hole. And I'm watching it on DraftKings. I'm winning the $6 for $5,000, and I'm up to, I believe it was 6th in the $20. There's $200K to first. I wasn't going to get there, but I was like, current winnings like $8,000. But I knew that even with a par, that Cam Davis screws me because he gets the 5-point bonus for having a bogey-free round. What I didn't realize that a birdie put him for 69 for the day, which gets him one of the only guys in the field with all 4 rounds under 60 for the extra bonus, plus the birdie bonus of the 3, and then moving up 1 spot or 2 spots on the leaderboard, 1 spot on the leaderboard, would get him like an extra 4 points from where he was currently at in terms of finishing position. So Cam Davis making birdie on that last hole is like a 16-point DraftKings swing. I don't have Cam Davis, but I see these people behind me with Cam Davis, and I'm trying to do the math and see who's going to pass me and who doesn't. And then I tune in because all I see it is I'm on the Fantasy National app. It says he's in the rough. It's like, all right, because they didn't show his approach shot. Of course, they had to show Tom Kim walking around for ages. Why show anyone else who might be on the same hole at the same time trying to play to get inside the top 10 or the top 5, whatever it might be? So he's in the roots. I'm not fully aware of what Cam Davis could actually do here with a birdie, but all I know is if he just somehow bogeys this hole, I'm doing great all of a sudden. If he makes par, he doesn't get that birdie bonus, I should be okay. So I'm watching it. And I'm like, oh my God, I can't believe he's I thought for a moment he was going to take a drop because, you've played with, we kind of have an unspoken rule amongst our buddies, even when we're playing, we go away for our trip and there's money on the line and that kind of thing. If you're in that spot and you do have a clear path, I'm not making anyone I know hit off a route. I don't want them to break their fucking wrist for $100 kind of thing. Are you the same way with your buddies?
And that's tough. If we're playing a match and that's 18, I don't know that you're getting a free draw.
I would give. I would let him move it to somewhere where he's not in this area where it's not on a route. That's.
Yeah, you don't want anyone to break a wrist. No one's getting there's no equipment truck either to go get a new wedge for free. I know buddies they play with a shitty 15th club that you're allowed to have because if you get into something like that where you don't want to break a good club or ruin one of your gamers, you keep an old yeller around that for. But I know what you mean. If we're mucking it up, I'm on any hole. We're just moving that. We are. Golf's hard enough. I don't need to do that.
No, and I don't want to see anyone get hurt either. So I was kind of worried for Cam Davis. I know he's going to go for this. I think it's the shot of the year. He just clips it from the dirt from behind the branch, lands about 2 feet past the pin, spins it back to a foot. It was oh my God. I sat there, I was that's an awesome shot. Then I was oh no, this is going to bury me. So I had mixed feelings about it, but I love good golf shots, and that was an awesome golf shot.
Well, that was you yes, you're betting. Yes, you're playing DFS, but at your heart, you're still a fan.
Yeah.
And the golf fan in you was trying to squish the gambler in you. We've all sort of been there before. It was incredible. Shot of the year. And sitting here now with the hyperbole of it, it's hard to think we're going to see something better. Obviously, a moment, there might be bigger implications for a player, whatever. But yeah, that was messed. That was messed. And on that note, which sucks that because if I was you, I'm for sure seeing the bogey. The path to the bogey is now in my head, and I'm running through how I can bink that sucker. We talked about the Rory driving. In the Rory, the scrambling was fucking insane. It was incredible.
Yeah. And I did want to mention the Lee Hodges because I know a lot of people had him top 20. He was the guy that Tambo got a seat into the Fantasy Golf World Championships this week as well. So shout out to you, Tambo. We'll be talking on Wednesday about that. But Hodges,
how many will he have by the time it starts?
I don't know. That one's pretty tough to qualify for. He put in 6 entries into it this week and won it, so it's worth $17,000. Yes, and you get the chance to win the big money at the end of the year.
Has he ever missed one?
I don't know. I don't think he was in the.
I'm not like down talking. Like
I don't
sorry.
think he was in
I
the
should
football.
start with that.
I don't think he was in the football one, the fantasy football world championships this year. But I think he's been in the golf one each of the past like 4 or 5 years.
He's like next level. Next level.
It's good.
He's sharing his secrets too. So
Yeah, he's
people get in
on the show every Wednesday. People won GPPs. It's funny because I faded Rory and Lowry completely in my big build of lineups, but the lineup that I had was one that we built on the show, looking at the weekend weather, thinking like, man, it looks like it's going to get pretty dicey on Saturday and Sunday. And it didn't get as dicey on Sunday as it was calling for, but it got more dicey on Saturday than they were calling for, like pre-week or on Wednesday when we looked at it. So we built this lineup of like, who are guys that like play well in shitty weather, like Euro guys that would like compete well on the European tour. So the only real like miss, like I had Fleetwood and Bobby Mack at the very bottom of the lineup. At the top was Rory, Lowry, Henley, and Horschel. If I had just somehow gotten to Cam Davis instead of Bobby Mack, I would have won all the money. But, you live and learn. Sometimes you run good, sometimes you run bad. And I was running good until the point where Davis hit that shot and I ran bad. Like Lee Hodges making the quad on 18, man, that's so rough. Double water ball off the tee. If he makes a 7, he gets his full top 20, which I think paid like 6-1, 7-1. And I know a ton of people had it. So I needed that to happen for me because a lot of people were using Hodges at the very top. He was the cheap guy that they had. But again, I felt really bad for the people that had like a top 20 bet on him. He finished like 30th.
It's cruel, man. Oh.
Never counted because
cool.
I had an underdog play too that I didn't realize that it had already lost. That I needed Scheffler to birdie 18 and Rose to birdie 18. I was like, oh, I am money. Obviously Rose hits the hybrid in a Tim Andercuss special, hitting the hybrid from just off the green, making an eagle. Cust doesn't make eagle. And then Scheffler hits it to like a foot, taps in the birdie. It's like, oh, yes, I win this underdog entry because I had Wyndham Clark lower than 71.5 strokes. I stopped paying attention to him. He went bogey double to finish his round. It finished with a 72.
Yeah, there were some big numbers coming home all week, it seemed. Holding on, especially Saturday, for a lot of those guys seemed tough. Guys like great rounds would just like evaporate out there.
But ratings-wise, to circle back to that fun stuff, I'm going to write about this in my column. I'll send out the newsletter after the show is processed. I'll have it up on Twitter as well under articles, and I will pin it to my profile. If you could go to my profile, share that around, like it, engage with it. That's what we need to get some more support for that article, and it's a comprehensive preview. It's completely free. You might as well go do it for me, all right? Thank you for that. Is that I actually think that the biggest success that they've had, the tour, and it's a very low bar. So, putting praise on it is like very logical thinking, which they don't do most of the time. But making this one the elevated event between football and then just letting Phoenix be a thing by itself is such a smart move on their front. Like Phoenix doesn't need to be elevated. It was rewarded being a signature event 2 years ago when they first introduced this thing, but it doesn't need it. It has a good field this week anyway. It's a fun tournament, but the biggest thing, like when people talk about the Straka ratings from the American Express and how it was like half of what it was for Dunlap the year before. Do you know what the main reason is behind this? And there's nothing they can really do for it.
Football?
Straka was up by 4 the entire time. It was a fucking blowout. What happened the year before? It was an amateur with Justin Thomas, Sam Burns, and there were 6 guys within a stroke of the lead coming down the stretch. Like, that's more important to golf ratings than anything, really, is that it's close. And Phoenix has been to a playoff 6 of the past 9 years. Like, this one's always close.
Yeah, and I think any sport with those primetime standalone games, they're all like, you ask the producer in the truck who he's cheering for, he's like, I'm cheering for a close game. Like, it's only one thing I'm cheering for. Like, this is a close game. That's all I want. And that's obviously why. So it makes sense. I don't even know, like, the PGA's got the people that run that thing, they have so little equity from me to think they could make the smart decision that until told otherwise, I'm just going to assume like AT&T, like strong arm them.
And maybe so.
At least they listen.
And it worked. You should have all your best players at Pebble Beach. I think that makes a lot of logical sense.
It pretty much seems like any sponsor who isn't getting taken care of with Elevated, that's been around a long time, other than like John Deere, who accepts its lot in life, is just telling these guys like, fuck off. We're done. No mas. No more. Bye-bye.
Super Bowl is this week, if you haven't heard. So Jeff, Tim, and I will have our full Super Bowl show out on Tuesday morning, but I need your help. If you haven't signed up for Underdog yet, go use code Mayo. You get a deposit bonus of up to $1,000. You get a free pick with Travis Kelce, and in the lobby as we speak, there's a $15 no sweat play. You can play a $15 entry on Underdog in the pick'em game. If it doesn't win, you get your $15 back. I think we're going to build one out on the show, and I gave away 2 last week that were golf plus Super Bowl, and they both hit. Jason Day, top 20 with the Super Bowl plays. Scottie Scheffler, top 10 with the Super Bowl plays. We're putting those ones forward. Those have some pretty nice payouts. And there's been like 50% boost, 77% boost, 66% boost in the lobby. So if you haven't signed up for Underdog, this is the week to do it, Geoff, because they're just like actively giving you money to play on the site right now. So if you use code Mayo in combination with that, you get even more free money, and it helps us out with the show. And, you know, this is what I'm using to fund the live show this summer. Still working on a venue.
Good. Get in that. Hopefully the people will rise up.
June 7th, by the way, for people who are wondering. Sub to the newsletter if you want to get that like directly sent to you. Once we have tickets on sale and everything, you'll have the confirmed dates. But June 7th is looking like the date in Toronto if you guys want to make some plans to come. I've actually heard from a bunch of people who are like flying in for this.
Impressive.
Yeah. To see you and Cust to verify he's a real person.
I doubt it, but Cust for sure. Listen, I always say this game, it's great. I could lose a lot on this golf tournament, Pat, and it'll just get like blurred in with the ledger from the Super Bowl. Speaking of finding bets, because I've got a beauty 5-figure Eagles to win the Super Bowl prop. I found like a little change under the cushion in one of my accounts. That was like a smaller Eagles to win the Super Bowl prop.
Nice.
That pays. So, finding those. And I'm not going to lie, part of me, because there's a lot of golfers I like, but Scottie's here. And I've had this thought where I want to overbet the shit out of this sucker. And if it goes wrong for me, then I'll just like hedge a bit harder with the Chiefs.
Did you see Charlie Hoffman's release that he put out?
Charlie Hoffman, the golfer, released.
A letter was sent to the PGA Tour members now from Charlie Hoffman. He addressed pace of play, critiques on the Aeon Swing 5, but there was one passage in particular. You can go read it. Sean Zach has it, Sean_ZAK, up on Twitter, released the entire thing that Charlie Hoffman put out about making changes for the tour for the better. But I thought this line in particular was very interesting. He said, here's something to think about. If we truly care about strengthening the PGA Tour, we should be supporting as many PGA Tour events as we can. Many of you keep saying you want to play fewer events, yet you still find time for TGL, Race to Dubai, and other non-PGA Tour events that's going to continue regardless of field size. I thought that was pretty interesting. And he called for the signature events to probably have at least 100 players, which I absolutely agree with, and have a cut line in them. Doesn't that feel like it's calling out Rory a little bit?
I think it's calling out a whole lot of them. Rory, Patrick, I could think of a few. Justin. It's easy to point to who he's calling out. I guess the Race to Dubai stuff is kind of a big shot at Rory, clearly. When did this come out? When we were recording, or it's been out overnight?
It was put out last night.
Fuck have I been?
Complaining about TV ratings.
No, I'm not. No, right? I complain about a lot of things. TV ratings, I am lockstep with you. I don't think it's going anywhere on TV. Even if it disappeared off TV, I'd pay for it in a different way. Like, I love golf enough. I'm not worried about if other people like golf. I actually don't give a fuck. Shrink the game. Shrink the game. Yeah, that doesn't bother me. I complain, but I do complain about how hard I have to dance for my fucking food. That I do complain about a lot. That was very articulate by Charlie. I can't wait to read the whole thing. Yeah, it's tough. You want to entertain me, like show me what's going on inside these member meetings with the haves and the have-nots. They're all gutless. Monahan has a fucking job. Like in no other place is that guy still standing. No, none. So they could all like man up. and figure out which part of the member association's keeping him alive.
You sent me something very interesting, and I want to play it for the people right now from Phil Mickelson.
When you go to a PGA Tour event, it's very uncomfortable for a parent to bring a child because you have to be quiet. Oh, shh. Okay, don't move. Stop moving. And then now come over here. Come over here, son. Let's go get a view. And you're kind of hustling, and your kids are kind of tired. They're walking miles, right? The viewer, the golf fan is the most loyal fan, paying for a ticket, walking miles and seeing a fraction of the action, right? Yeah. It's not like other sports where you buy a seat and you get to see 100% of the action. You don't have to move. Okay, so we have a very loyal fan base. But when you're with your kids, it's very uncomfortable at a tour event because you have a 6-year-old or a young child and you're like, don't talk right now. Okay, come over here. And
it's like almost not even worth breaking.
That's it. Now they've walked and they're tired and they don't have a place to go. Okay, you go to a live event, you feel different. And here's why. You have music going. So if you're out on the course, we don't hear little people saying stuff. We don't hear it. So you're not as anxious about having your kids be quiet. Oh, it's okay, come on. And then let's walk up here. And there's a fan zone like on the course where you can sit down, take a break, grab some drinks. It's like a little hang. You can take a nap. They have a kids zone by the clubhouse where, again, you can take a nap. You can sit down, play putt-putt and play games for them, entertain them with a big screen so you can still see what's going on the golf. So when you go there, you feel calm.
Yeah.
You feel comfortable, like, okay, our kids had a great time. I was relaxed. I wasn't so worried. I think that's the number one reason why LIV's going to be successful, because when you go experience it, you walk away feeling different. You walk away feeling like, oh, I really enjoyed that. Let's go back. And then when you go to a tour event, you're going to be like, okay, like that was great, but it doesn't. You're tired. You're worn out. Okay.
So Phil talking about how LIV is better for kids. From everyone I've talked to who's been to a LIV event, they all kind of agree with Phil.
The reason LIV is going to win is because of a playpen and nap time.
I don't think it's why they're going to win, mind
like,
you.
That
But
is insane.
Well, listen, I've talked about this from the onset that one of the best things that the NFL did was steal from the XFL the 1 year it was in existence in like 2001 or whenever the hell that was. They stole camera views. They stole different rule changes and just a better way to broadcast. I think this is something that the PGA needs to steal from LIV. I actually think this is a great idea for on-the-course stuff because honestly, even going to events, Phil's not wrong. It's hard to see stuff. It's not like super fun. And I couldn't imagine bringing my kids to it.
No, you don't bring kids to this shit. Like, no offense. It's like making a kid watch ground. There have been activations. I've been to a lot of Canadian Opens, even in Florida. There's like activations for the kids. So I don't want to make it like there's nothing, but you can obviously do more. But you want to go to a LIV event to like watch it on a big screen while your kid is in a playpen?
No, I think that's
the way I didn't understand.
That's an area.
A daycare?
Yeah.
Is there a daycare?
Basically, yeah.
Like I can hand my kid off?
Potentially, or you can sit there and be with them while they're taking a break. Like it would be hard for you to walk around, as you said, like 6 miles with a bunch of kids the entire day. If you need a spot to take a break, I think it's a good idea for the viewing experience. And it's easier at a LIV event because obviously there are fewer people there. But if they can integrate it into that Adelaide event, which we're getting next week, I don't see why the PGA Tour can't do the same thing. And I think more people might go if you could bring your kids.
If there isn't a Wiggles cover band at the goddamn Adelaide event, then what the fuck is Phil even talking about?
Why not just have the Wiggles?
Sure.
It's
They're
in
probably
Australia.
touring. That's why I said maybe there's a cover band because they're out earning. But no, listen, there are fair points there, but it's also ridiculous. Like, golf is weird. It's not like a baseball game where I got a seat, where there's a seat and I could just keep shoving popcorn in my kid's fucking face and they're fine. They're fine. There's a lot of moving around. It's exhausting. You got to wear your comfy shoes. And taking a kid to a golf event, like, you might as well bring them to fucking church or synagogue. Like, kids sit there, they want to die. Unless your kid is of like the 1% who's truly enthralled with golf at that young age and like wants to watch them swing. These kids sit there, they're being tortured. They're watching grass grow. Every time I go to a golf event, I am pained for the children. Because they look bored out of their goddamn mind. No, it'd be great. Sure, there's like a play plan. They can go run around. The problem is my child's not going to want to leave. So unless Phil is sponsoring nanny service, I don't know what the fuck he's talking about. Nap time. It is so goddamn insulting. And he could, props to him. Tip your cap to that goddamn genius who could say that shit with a straight face.
I don't think he's necessarily wrong with this. And the point that he was getting to now, obviously you're going to oversell what it does for your tour. LIV's not going to win because of this, because LIV isn't going to be around in this iteration in 20 years. They'll have merged with the PGA Tour at some point. So it'll probably not end up being anything. But I think what he's talking about is if you can get kids to the course, because golf is boring, as you just mentioned, you feel bad for the kids being there, that if you can give them a reason to go, maybe they just like golf a little bit more. Maybe you can create fans that way. Like I'm bringing my kids to a sporting event in next week. They have the day off school on Monday. There's an afternoon hockey game. Go Halifax Moosehead. So I got them upper bowl tickets to the game. We're going to go as a family, and I think that they're going to enjoy it. If they don't, we can leave. But I think why was the reason that you became a fan of things anyway? Like I became a hockey fan when I was young, not that I am anymore, and that I wanted to play because I got to go to hockey games when I was a kid with my dad. I think bringing kids to these events, as long as it's not the most boring thing on earth for them, is a good way to at least create goodwill towards the game from a younger generation, and one that where everything is super old.
But here's the thing. I've seen play areas at PGA events. I've never seen nap areas, but I have seen play areas for kids. I've seen like a face painting thing. So I don't really know like what, like I've seen mini putt setups, this whole thing for kids. So I don't really know exactly what he is talking about. And sure, maybe at a LIV event, there's like so much more space for this because they have like so fewer sponsorship activations. That's not even like a low-hanging fruit knock. That's just like a reality probably on the ground. So there's like way more space for these sorts of things because everything is sort of, while it's bigger and louder, it's smaller. And yeah, the music makes sense because like what he said about the music makes total sense. It's almost like Phoenix. When the fact that it's 16, there's always like a buzz of a noise. So unless someone's actually going to like scream in your backswing, it's actually like a baseline sound, which is acceptable to most professional golfers. Not John Rahm, but most professional golfers. But yeah, I don't know. I think I watched the whole Phil interview, the 17 minutes with Joe. There's a lot of things. Phil can take a bow about a lot of things. I'm not giving him fucking the wiggles and nap time. He's not getting that from me. He's getting a hat tip for being able to fucking say that.
All right. You're just like Michael Jordan. Fuck them kids, right?
Golf is tough. I don't disagree. There's like a way, maybe there's a way you can always try to make it a better experience for the kids. But golf, unless your kid is like the hyper rare kid who's like truly enthused about the sport, not just beyond playing it himself, beyond getting to whack around a club and smack a ball around, chase a ball into a hole, we shall see. But I'm excited. They're playing this week under the lights. I'm going to give them a rating point. Promise you that much. I think LIV sucks. I do. I think the concept sucks. But what I think more than LIV sucks is how much I enjoy Bryson and Hatton and DJ Brooks. Like we can just name them. Neiman, all of them. I'm sure I'm forgetting amazing players. Cam. I like those individual players, and I like watching them golf more than I think LIV sucks. So while I think LIV sucks, I still like players, and I'm going to watch them if they're on TV hitting golf shots.
If you're someone who's ever taken a golf trip, I know you have the same experience I do, that you dread bringing your clubs to the airport, dealing with the baggage claim, and then crossing your fingers, hoping that they show up, because that is one of the most stressful parts about any golf trip, because you don't want to show up to your fantastic golf location. You're all excited to go there, and oh yeah, we lost your clubs. Even PGA Tour players deal with this. So every time I fly for a golf trip now, I am no longer dealing with the airlines and the baggage handlers to do that. I'm skipping the airport stress, the costly airline fees, and with the complimentary insurance, real-time tracking, dedicated support, and on-time delivery, ShipSticks is where I am going. I've already hooked it up for when I'm going to Pinehurst at the end of March. Me and Tim Butts' clubs are getting there via ShipSticks so we can make sure that they are there before we show up so that stress never enters a part of our life. You can travel worldwide without the luggage. ShipSticks delivers to over 180 countries, hassle-free, gear-free journey. Everything you need for your golf vacation will be there on time waiting for you with ShipSticks. Right now, ShipSticks is offering my listeners 20% off your first shipment when you go to shipsticks.com and use the code PATMAYO. Go to shipsticks.com and use the code PATMAYO to get 20% off your first shipment and save yourself the hassle this golf season. That's shipsticks.com and make sure to use that code PATMAYO so they know I sent you. If you're like me, the end of December really got you out of your regular routine. What you do the other 50 weeks a year did not apply to those 2 weeks. Family, kids, Christmas, whatever it is you're doing, it was difficult to do. Plus, it's cold out. That's never any fun. But the way that you can get yourself back on track, if you didn't in January already, is get some AG1 in your life the moment you wake up. That's what I do. Pour some water into my AG1 bottle. Boom! I take a scoop of AG1. Throw that in. I cut it with a little bit of orange juice just to make it more delicious. And since I'm going very, very weights heavy at the gym these days because I tore my calf muscle and can't run anymore, so I really got to bulk up, I've been throwing in a scoop of protein powder as well. Getting that all into me, firing it in, first thing I do when I wake up, and gotta tell you, listen to the energy I have. It's never too late to create a new, healthy habit for 2025, so try AG1 for yourself. It's something I've actually been able to stay consistent with, and that's why I'm so excited to be partnering with AG1. And AG1 is offering new subscribers a free $76 gift when you sign up. You'll get a welcome kit, a bottle of D3K2, and 5 free travel packs in your first box. So make sure to check out drinkag1.com/mayo to get this offer. That's drinkag1.com/mayo to start your new year on a healthier note. Welcome to the TGL presented by SoFi, golf's newest league. It's sharp and it's electric. How is it sharp? How is it electric? Good questions. Try this on for size. 2 hours of hammer dropping, overtime forcing, playoffs on the line golf with 24 of the best players from the PGA Tour. Tuesday, February 4th, we got the Boston Common versus Los Angeles Golf Club. Rory McIlroy, Keegan Bradley, Adam Scott, and Hideki Matsuyama taking on Colin Morikawa, Tommy Fleetwood, Justin Rose, and Sahith Theegala. This isn't your average Sunday pickup game. Tune in each week for TGL only on ESPN. Keep up. It's golf. Let's move to Phoenix, because this is what we're here to talk about, one of my favorite tournaments of the year. I'll save you all the Spencer Levine stories. The link to him having his meltdown on the back nine will be in that column that I referenced earlier, Mayo Media on Substack, and it'll be pinned to my profile on X, and you can just read it on there, and it'll link out to it, because it's a whole lot of fun if you want to see someone smoking cigs with needles of cacti sticking out of their ass. It's just terrific stuff. Brett Snedeker ended up winning this year. But the biggest thing that we need to do right now is figure out what we're doing with Scottie, because Scottie is plus 350 to win this event. He's already won it twice. He finished third last year at just outside of the playoff to Nick Taylor and Charlie Hoffman. I very rarely go into these betting without markets, because if you're going to go into the betting without market, why wouldn't I just put all my money on Scottie Scheffler? I don't know if I'm ready to do that at this point in time, although I do not have a winner so far this year, so that's never any fun. But it worries me that he was 1 week back from being rusty, not playing, and a hand injury, and he led his signature event in approach.
You should be worried. We should all be worried. Like, what are we doing? He's not supposed to be here. I didn't make some futures for this tournament thinking he was going to be here. Got great numbers, but still.
Be very wary of that, because I didn't make any futures. DraftKings has been posting this for ages simply because they have the retail sportsbook on location, so they have the ability to do that, and they want to create buzz on their site for the event. So there's been a lot of good numbers available on DraftKings Sportsbook for this event because they were featuring a whole lot of players who simply did not show up for this tournament. Like Xander probably would have played it, but he's hurt, recovering from his Marilyn Manson surgery, probably. Rory was like listed on those odds. Finau was listed on those odds. Those guys aren't playing, but Scottie ends up coming. But you'll have Justin Thomas at 25-1. That number doesn't exist. So when people release their cards this week, and a lot of people will, yourself included, way more, you're going to see numbers that simply were not bettable the week of. I just want to point that out to people.
Yeah, so I actually only have two. We can get them out of the way. I have Justin at 25, and then last week, while they were still up, I bet Ann at 70. And I regret others I didn't take, but I also didn't anticipate Scottie playing when I made the second one. So yeah, and Ann is like 40 or 50 now. So yeah, I got two bets. There are going to be people with like way sicker numbers, I'm sure, on some guys. But yeah, so I'm sitting on those two.
Cool. So let's talk about Scottie. Would you want to bet Scottie at plus 350?
No, but I don't want to, like, it makes me not want to do anything.
So would you rather bet into that without Scottie market? Like,
So
is it worth taking 20 points off a name you like to bet them without Scottie?
Yeah, and I saw, I didn't get the European tip from Baroff this morning.
Tapio.
But
Tapio is the guy you need to look at 200.
Is that the guy who wears the fedora?
Yeah, it is.
Yeah, no. Sorry, Baroff. Like, you guys can win your money. I forbid. He sent me, I haven't played it, but he put me onto the without Scottie market and noted that he thinks there's great value in like Sam Burns 22-1 without Scottie relative to like being 25-1 or something with Scottie.
So that's the first thing that I noticed as well. I'm looking at the without Scottie market right now, and the guys at the top end don't actually I mean, it's probably the same percentage of money. So if you think about it in those terms, but just to visually see it, like I was looking at Min Woo because I'm an absolute goober and a sucker. He's 65-1 in the non-Scottie market. He's 50-1, but Justin Thomas is 12-1 in the Scottie market. He's like 9.5-1 in the non-Scottie market. Like, that's a better market to bet him in.
You would think so, right?
Yeah, like Theegala is the interesting one for me because I want to bet Theegala at 37-1, and in the non-Scottie market he's 28. Like, would you take that much of a hit?
Would I take that much of a hit? That's tough. I've seen him as high as like 50 in the nons.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I believe Rivers had an enhanced 50.
Without Scottie or with Scottie?
Oh, sorry. Yeah, with Scottie.
Yeah, I'm sure there's a better number than 37. It's just what I'm looking at this early in the morning. And I haven't jumped in. I've jumped in on a few long shots with placements just because I think that's fun. If Charlie Hoffman's going to cook on Twitter, imagine how he can cook on this course. Let's go, Charlie. Like this is the spot to. You got to bet Charlie this week at 110-1, don't you?
Like for people who are good with that ride, I don't know. I'm sort of done.
I mean, he continued to play good golf at Farmers, and he was in the final group at Amex. He lost in a playoff here last year.
Yeah, it's tough. I'm trying to like do this math in my head on the not Scottie market.
How's that going?
Yeah, you're right. It's about 20 points. Like for guys who aren't like once you're above like 40-50-1, it's about 20 points.
Yeah.
If you found if you are able to shop for like the absolute best with Scottie number, works out to that. So maybe you're right. The guys at the very top, like that probably is where the value algorithm would say the without Scottie market is the best. Because you're probably going to play those other guys with each ways anyway.
Well, that's why I wanted to get in already on them, the guys that I wanted to take from the back end to get those, like, yeah, because I don't care if Scottie's in. I don't really expect them to win. But the odds that I can get on their top 8 versus betting it as a top 10 is totally different. And they're just much better odds. And then you always have the out that they might win, or you get yourself into a hedge situation, or they just win outright. Like, you have all of that upside for less money with better numbers anyway. So that's why I mean, you lose the 2 spots instead of top 10, you get top 8, but it's worth it to me because of the EV on it.
Is every book, like how many books you seeing without Scottie in?
I'm just using 365 right now. Is like they were the first ones I saw up without Scottie.
Okay, yeah, I've seen them, and I guess there's others, but yeah.
Of note, Grazerman WD'd on the weekend at Pebble Beach, but he's still listed in the field. He said he had a hand injury. I don't know if it's because he was playing like crap, and he just said, yeah, screw it. I'm out of here. I'm going to Phoenix. But he is still listed in the field right now. Oh, and I did make a future bet. I forget. I would love to give you a shout out, but I can't find it directly at this moment. Someone who made a very good point to me off a comment I said. This is why, sometimes I make comments. I love doing the research show, and people find things that I say that I don't necessarily pick up on, but they're like, oh, they can, they're watching, oh, no, I can build that connection myself. I'll go to fantasynational.com/Mayo and go find that out myself. And keep them. Sometimes they share it back with me. But did you notice at the very top of the leaderboard this week, didn't it feel very much like the top of the leaderboard at Portrush?
I mean, I just noticed it was Ryder Cup or Internationals. Like Glover was the American that at moments I felt like snuck in there, but I didn't correlate it to a course. Good call.
And it wasn't, because obviously Lowry won, so wherever Lowry does well, you're going to put that in your mind. But it was wet, it was rainy, and those were the conditions that we saw in Ireland last time. It is Northern Ireland. It is in Northern Ireland. So that's where Portrush is. That's where the Open is this year. I bet Straka 100-1 to win the Open.
For a moment there, I'm like, is Pat giving me permission to bet Taylor Pendrith to win a major?
I think Straka's closer to it, and
You're probably right.
But this is what we've seen from Straka. Straka's won 3 events now, and they've all been goober events. He's won the John Deere, he won a weekend Honda field, and he won the American Express a few weeks ago. Every time he gets into it with these bad boys, that this kind of happens, and his putting fell off a cliff. The moment the Cust was like, I think Straka's going to win, and then obviously that did not happen. He played like the worst of anyone on Sunday. But I like to see him in the mix with these guys. He did finish at that Waterlog Open 2 years ago that Harman won. Now, Harman won by 5. There was 6 guys or so who just kind of backdoored the second place finish. But he has been there. I think if there is a major for Straka to compete in, it would be the Open. So I made that 100-1 wager.
So the thing about Straka, despite all his wins being in really shitty fields, right? The the Honda,
the ones I just said.
I do agree with you that he has the ability to step up in class. In a way, there's a lot of other guys who might have 2 or 3 career wins who I still aren't really confident they will be able to step up in class. So based on that, I agree with you. And also shout out another nice week for Taylor Pendrith. If I was a smarter, more methodical, calculated golf bettor, would have made a lot of money with Pendrith in other ways, but I'm just like a winner go home sort of fucking guy because, that's just where we are. And now my head is spinning now with this without Scottie. Part of me wants to let Scottie stab me in the heart first.
Yeah,
on
that's
the
fair.
Calendar year. At least let him. It's like, this guy's got to prove to me he can fucking win. No, but I don't. Man, he was so good. He was so good. And not even, because obviously, not all the shots make it. Just tracking it. Seeing what he's up to. Is he lurking? Everything was just prototype Scottie. Bad sign. So have you bet the without? Have you pulled any triggers there?
I haven't, no. I haven't done any with I haven't made any real bets yet. I bet Hoffman, I bet Rico Hui at 200-1 because this is not the stadium course, but you still do get to play in the desert. And from the research show, CT Pan rated out really well, so I just took a flyer on him. I bet Nate Lashley first round leader, and I bet Nate Lashley first round top 20 at 7-1, but just those sorts of bets, being hey, here are the guys that I like from the research show who are long shots. But I do have a group of guys I do want to bet this week, but I got to try to figure out how to bet them and what I want to do. So I want to talk that through with you first. Scottie, so we're both out on Scottie as an outright winner. It's now plus 333. So even with a boost by the time Wednesday comes along, and every Wednesday Bet365 does give a boost of 30%. So you get them up to 4-1 if you really wanted them. It's just not a bet that I'm going to make. I made that bet at the Olympics, which was a field of 60 people, and 30 of them were absolutely horrendous. At least at this tournament, yes, he's won twice. He did have to outduel Rahm and Nick Taylor in the signature event 2 years ago, and they probably should have lost to Patrick Cantlay the year before that. It's not like he didn't play in this field last year when Nick Taylor and Charlie Hoffman were in a playoff. It's he is not incapable of not winning, put it that way. So maybe I just roll the dice, and like you said, if Scottie beats me, he beats me. He's going to beat me a few times this year, and I'm probably not going to have bet him.
I'm starting to just like the events he doesn't play in much more. Like, I don't know. It's really, yep.
It would be better if Scottie Scheffler was either more likable or really hateable. That's kind of the problem with him. Everyone kind of likes Scottie Scheffler, but no one loves Scottie Scheffler. Like, I kind of wish that Tom Kim was doing what Scottie Scheffler did, because it would just be fun. Because people would be so mad at him all the time, and they would hate watch it. It would just drive engagement all the time. It would be fun to have someone to either root for or root against, depending on what side you're on. No one's really against Scheffler. We're just mad at him because he makes all our bets really bad. Not that we don't make bad bets anyway. I lost every tournament he didn't play too, but it just feels like, oh great, Scheffler by 7. This was fun.
I mean, Tom Kim is very lucky that he has like ceiling personality moments, because it is saving him in a moment. But again, if they want to go to the public shame game, I don't know. We'll see how well he'll survive it.
So
2 years ago, you mentioned Cantley Xander. I thought should have won that fucking thing 2 years ago, but I'm sure there's every tournament in so long that people probably thought Xander should have won. I'm gonna step in front of the dragon. He's got to knock my heart out. Although Baroff, who is pretty smart and can read the value algorithm well, I think that the 22-1 on duel for Burns without Scottie, when I'm seeing like a consensus 25 on the odds checker grid for Burns, I think seems like a pretty fair fucking bet. If you wanted to bet Sam Burns, I think you have to do it.
Problem is, then you're betting Sam Burns, and I know how that goes.
Yeah, that's a fair point. That's a fair point. Tom Kim was like 45 last night on some of those numbers. Obviously, I mean, we ended last week's show talking about like he is running train tracks in terms of flashing red lights. But hey, that TGL little moment early in the week gave him a little buzz, and he brought it to Pebble.
So there is another way that if you really want to get risky, if you're so afraid of Scottie and you want to bet without the Scottie market, would you consider going to the dual forecast market where it's Scottie beats person, where you get way better odds?
I don't have those balls. Like
if I like Theegala to win this week and I wanted to bet him in the non-Scottie market, do I just say Scheffler beats Theegala? That's 90-1.
I feel like that scene of the car, like Austin Powers in the golf cart. Like I don't know. I feel like paralyzed in making decisions around his existence at the moment after what he did last week statistically with off a hand injury.
And this is one of the easier tournaments to putt at inside 25 feet. It has the 4th highest make percentage inside from 10 to 25 feet of any course on tour. There was a year where like 89% of the field made all of their putts inside 10 feet. So these greens are pretty easy to go with, and they kind of jibe perfectly with the Players' Championship right now. Since it has moved to March, you're getting the POA overseed, very similar to the POA overseed that we see at Waste Management. Obviously, they're both TPC courses at the same time. And just we've had 11 guys who have won Phoenix have also won the Players' Championship. 12, if you believe Cust, and Hideki won the Players' Championship in 2020. And it's name brand guys, man, that we see win. Like the only name brand player who has won this tournament like the past decade, who like wasn't a part of that list, is last year is Nick Taylor, and he's won 5 times. But like, and Woodland won the U.S. Open.
But this was before that.
Sure,
that was like a
but then like you have to look at it like through the lens, like the retrospective lens. Like U.S. Open players have done really well here. Woodland's won the U.S. Open in this event. Webb Simpson has won this and won the U.S. Open. Brooks has won this twice. The only 2 times I've ever hit a winner here. I hit Brooks twice at this event at great odds. Scheffler had 3 consecutive top 10s or top 5, in U.S. Opens before last year. Nick Taylor is just sort of the outlier in all of this. Hideki has been a great U.S. Open player. Ricky has been a good U.S. Open player.
Brendan Grace,
There
good U.S. Open player.
Didn't win.
Tony Finau was like good. But yeah, no, a lot of guys that have had some really good weeks here play well in some of those harder, tougher setups. And you're right, it's a pedigree event. I probably brought that to my betting card last year.
But I'm trying to figure out why. What does this tournament and this course have anything to do with the U.S. Open? That part I can't figure out.
I'm not smart enough.
Like, is it an all-around game? Like, you can't be deficient in any one area? Maybe that's the link?
It does ask for the whole bag, and it neutralizes the putter a bit, right? It as you mentioned, like we had that one year, Webb was Webb winning here reawakened him. It gave him like a second life. He was all over the map. Him in that Finau duel, hitting putts on top of each other.
Webb had been really.
Finau finally missed.
Webb had been really good. Like when Webb won here, he won at 14-1. So it's not like he was an out of nowhere winner. He was one of the favorites that week because he had won the Players the year before, I think. Yeah. No, do I have that backwards? Webb won the Players what year? 2018? So yeah, he had been sort of on his run. He had just come, his lead-in form to Waste Management was 7th, 2nd, 3rd. And then he won in Phoenix. And then he won the Heritage later on. Coming out of COVID, which was awesome because we hit that.
Well, I can already guess. Like, I have a feeling you are like a lot of these high 40s into like the 60s guys.
I do like them, but I don't know where I want to go. Like, I didn't want to do the Nestea plunge right away. I really did want to talk this through. So when we think about like the other favorites in this tournament, you got like Justin Thomas is now 12-1, Hideki 17, Sungjae is 24, Burns is 27, Connors is 35, so is Tom Kim, Straka and Theegala both at 35 to 40-1 at the moment. Then you got Ben An, and he's inside 50, and that's it. Those are all the guys inside 50-1. Victor was going to play in this tournament, but withdrew over the weekend. Not from Pebble. He withdrew from this tournament while he was at Pebble. And a pretty decent week for Victor. It's just starting to see signs of him coming back. Like, from that grouping, like, why not just bet Hideki at 17?
Yeah, if you're asking me to pick from those current numbers, I would probably stay away from all of them.
I like Hideki and I like Theegala. Those would be the two that I'd want to go with.
Yeah.
Theegala feels like he's been so close to winning this tournament so far in his short career, and he should have won it. That was the year that Scottie. Hell, was that the Scottie can't? It was a Scottie Cantlay playoff year. Theegala had that tournament won and put it in the water on 17.
I looked at that on the course history charts. I could see that. I could been looking at that enhanced 50 for him. Makes sense if you believe. Like, there's some 40s on Tom Kim.
Listen, Tom Kim's great. Maybe he wins. He is Cust one and done, so don't forget that.
Oh, okay. No.
But like, he was kind of in the mix to win Pebble, but then he wasn't. Like, he never felt like a very serious threat to not, like, out of all the guys on that leaderboard, like, once Rory started playing pretty well, it felt like there was one guy who had a chance to catch him, and it was Lowry. He was the only class of player of guy there. And I know that Tom Kim has better results than Lowry. Lowry just has bigger wins in his career, that if anyone's going to go chase down a Rory who's playing well, Lowry was the only answer.
I guess. Lowry on Saturday morning, he seemed pretty popular. Saw a lot of people jumping on the live 50, 55s, which ended up being, clearly a nice shout. He's a guy I haven't bet him to win a golf tournament in just like forever.
I mean,
despite what he's done, I don't trust him to hit something when it would matter. But I'll bet my own losers. That's part of I got my own losers to bet. Don't mean that guys won an Open championship, but yeah, fair points. There are a lot of guys like Cam Davis. If he could putt last week, he'd have been right there. But you're right. I didn't really see anyone.
Well, Cam Davis is a bit iffy. He lost a stroke putting, but he also gained how many more strokes than anyone else around the green? He gained. Justin Thomas was second because Justin Thomas made like 8 eagles throughout the course. That dude couldn't putt, but he could chip in from anywhere, dunk his irons. Cam Davis gained 6 strokes around the green at Pebble and Spyglass. So let's not cry for Cam Davis that he couldn't putt. Like, he was barely below average and chipped everything in.
But I like a lot of these guys in and around this like 50 number.
We're not
You
even
mentioned-
we're not even there yet. Like we're 50 and below. Like so Hideki and Thigala would be the ones for me. Like the hard sell on Thigala against him would be just like he's just not playing very well. He had been playing better. Like the irons have been okay, but like he hasn't been able to put anything together fully. But maybe this is just one of those, like it's sort of like the Bubba thing. This is sort of his happy place. Maybe this is where we need to go. So he has a 5th, a 39th, let's see, Phoenix, and a 3rd. So he's played this 3 times, 5th, 3rd, and 39th in his career, and just lights it up on the greens here. He hasn't been worse than 3.5 strokes gained putting in any time he's played it.
So this could be like a very dangerous thing to say because it could pretty much just like mentally give you the equity to maybe bet the guy even when he's struggling. But when you open up Sahith's grids, Pat, like his like fantasy national results page, he doesn't stay down for long, and there's always a top result.
But the top result's usually like a 3rd, not a win.
Okay, yes, sorry, that's fair. But like he doesn't like the full like he snaps out of it and gets back to fighting for podiums pretty quick, it seems. Like consistently. I don't want to say quick, but he always seems to get out of it. And he's in a run right now. I want to bet on him to get out of it. I might join you on this one because I've been staring at him before we even got going this week with a few other guys. The only question is like 35 without Scottie or 50 enhanced with. And I'm a 50 enhanced with kind of guy.
I mean, do you have the ability to bet this 35 without?
Sorry, did I say 35?
Yeah. What's the without Scottie number on Thigala that you have? I see 25.
Yeah, 28.
28. Okay, that's what I could probably get a 28 as well if I keep shopping around. But I don't know. Is it worth those 10 points to me? I'll have to consider that. But Thigala is going to go on the card for me. I bet him last year. But I might just do Hideki and Thigala. I'll have to circle around with Hideki. Maybe his run is a little bit over. But one thing of note, too, when you're looking at the Thigala responses is that he was one of those guys in at 3 under going into the final round the Saturday at Torrey Pines. He shot 80 in the final round to take himself like his T55, whatever it was. It can't like excuse one bad round, but it was really one bad round for him. He was very much like he was tied with Sam Stevens or whoever it may have been in that range. I do have a pet theory about Stevens as well. I didn't use him last week. He actually had a pretty decent week last week. But now we're back to a more driver-centric course, which is more of his specialty. We're all talking about how, hey, Mexico looks really good for him. Why not him this week at like 100-1?
Yeah, that lines up with the sort of like player profiles that I would historically bet here.
Yeah. And he just played Torrey really well. Like, obviously, Sam Stevens doesn't have a lot of U.S. Open reps and how we know that he does there, but Torrey Pines is a U.S. Open style course that you do have to use a lot of your game to do that. But those would be the two. Thigala and Hideki from that top end. 50 to 100. Poston and Horschel were the two that stuck out to me. And Minwoo, but that's a sucker bet.
I too, you could call me a potential sucker. I have Ben Ann, who I'm still sitting at 50s. I mean, I don't know. Like I kind of regret already doing it. It's like a guy I never bet.
Ben
And
Ann?
honestly, like go win, go be great on Twitter, whatever. Let's like cut to the chase of this fucking bet. If I had to make like a list of the players I trust the absolute least, like players of a certain betting board respect, because it's not fair to lump him with like a 150, 200-1 guy. He would be maybe fighting for gold medal.
Oh,
like on the player,
let's do that. No, let's do that right now. Of the guys in this 50 to 100 range, who would, okay, let's say, because there's two guys in here that I think, like, would you rather have, if they were the same odds, who would you expect to close less? Cam Young or Ben Ann?
Ben Ann.
Ben Ann actually has wins. He just won in like
I don't
Korea
care.
or something.
I don't give a shit. Right? I swear to you. Equal. So there's an indictment on Ann. Like, it's not an easy answer, Ann, for me.
Well, okay, Denny McCarthy is also right around the same odds, and so is Bo Hostler.
Denny would not be ahead of those two.
Denny's never won.
I don't care. I still like he's taken some lumps in some moments. He didn't lose to a dead guy. Denny could not be ahead of them on this tier, on this ranking.
How about, although he does have one win on the PGA Tour, has had many chances, Keith Mitchell.
Oh, that was a long time ago. We buried that sucker in Brooks and Rory at Ricky's face. That was a long time
Again,
ago.
I had Ricky and Brooks that week, too, and of course, Keith Mitchell wins because he hits the 17-footer on 18. Like, a guy can't make a 3-foot putt any other time in his career when he's in contention. But when I have guys against him, of course, he's just stepping up in his nails.
Yeah, like this is almost what we're doing right now is the opposite of the Nick Taylor like dog rank.
Well, maybe
It's the other.
well, let's flip it the other way. So I want to hear from people in the comment section about this. I really do. 'Cause I think these are fun rankings. We can do an entire show on this sort of thing.
Oh,
A top 10 either way. I'm going away soon. Not to America because I can't afford it anymore. I have to go to the Dominican Republic now. But we'll do that. We'll pre-record that. Like top 10 dogs and the top 10 gutless players. And I want to get some good response from people in here because you flip it the other way. Because why aren't we betting Nick Taylor at 65-1?
Literally top of the charts dog rankings.
Yeah. See, and you know what? Siwoo's there too at 75.
Dog. Straight dog. Siwoo is a dog. Can't deny that.
So who else would be in that range? I think Horschel's kind of that way.
Absolute dog. You are not wrong. He absolutely qualifies as dog.
Those would be the three from this range. Like that 50 to 100 range.
Yeah, but they win. Just look at the trophies. It's undeniable dogs. Like they're surrounded by Detries and Mitchells.
And Hoagie.
Detry might not be horrible here, but maybe we'll get to that at the very end.
Well, he's at acceptable odds. Like it's one thing when Dietrich's
you're right,
45-1. It's another thing when he's 100-1. It's like Siwoo.
Well,
I like Siwoo, and I just called him like a guy that he's a closer. But we get to some of these tournaments and Siwoo's like 28-1. It's like I don't want to bet Siwoo at 28-1 because he has exactly the same chance of winning that tournament as he does at one where he's 150-1. Like I bet Siwoo last week. I think he came in like 7th or something at 125-1.
And despite shaky and the track record not being that high, like I trust Baccia having dog. Like if he's battling another one of these 50-1 guys, like obviously he's going against Scheffler. That's different. But like Bobby Mack, there's dog. There's dog.
Spieth.
Yeah. We haven't seen it, but yeah, the old dog.
So Spieth did more of what I thought, like we didn't know with Scottie. Like you just returned to being the number one player in the world after an absence. Spieth's result made a lot more sense. That guy coming off of a wrist injury who hadn't played in 6 months, played like a guy who hadn't played in 6 months.
I don't want to fearmonger Spieth, but I don't even remember what I listened to, but it was, and I am not doctor content guy. But pretty much like whatever he had, like when you walk into that, like the specialist, the wrist specialist, like it's like the worst thing to have. I'm not even smart enough to articulate it, but his version of the wrist injury is just fucking like horrible. It's the nut low. This was coming from a guy who claimed to be a doctor on YouTube. So.
Well, there's a couple of doctors on Twitter and YouTube at this point who are now just like shilling powders for like anti-cancer powders and stuff like that. I don't know if I buy in. I'm questioning those people, Jeff, is what I'm throwing out there. Of note, with Spieth, his final round at Pebble was actually quite good in terms of the numbers. He lost a stroke like for the entire week. He lost like 3 strokes tee to green in the wind, and that was a bad windy day, and he got caught in the teeth of that as well. But he was. He lost 2.5 strokes off the tee. He lost a stroke and a half on approach. The day before, he lost 1.4 strokes on approach. Sunday at Pebble Beach, Spieth was a net even off the tee, which is fine for Pebble Beach. He gained 2.3 strokes on approach, and he actually gained putting. He lost a bunch of strokes putting, and this has always been a tournament where he's been good at. I don't necessarily know if it's, I'm not going to bet him to win, but like a top 10, I don't think is outrageous on Spieth this week. If he can be, and I don't know how his wrist holds up the entire time, but it was encouraging for me to see that he sucked the first 3 rounds, and then maybe it's because he had nothing to play for, whatever, but he did play a lot better on Sunday, like one of the better players in the field.
There were a handful of like lovely
Scott
other side of the course rounds yesterday. Scott and Spieth. I guess Billy was on the front side, so good for him, or the normal rotat, but good for him. What about your boy Rasmus here?
I mean, Rasmus at 60. I mean, Nikolai is down at 120. Thought
Same
Rasmus,
guy, double the odds.
yeah, I thought, same guy. Just maybe they can like switch hats and we'll never know the difference, and they can just play as the guy at deeper odds for us. That would be terrific news. I don't know. I don't know if this is this the spot? Like, how do you feel about Nikolai? I don't really have anything on him. Like I said, because it's the same thing. Like Wyndham Clark would be another one. He's just playing really badly right now, but he's 65-1. He was first round leader here last year, I think. Like he's put in some good work. But like Bobby Mack's a guy I continue to bet every single week, and he just can't make a putt to save his life. So that's always a problem. But he's 60-1, and he probably should be up in that Straka range because I think they're about equivalent as a player right now. But for me, the guys that I was looking at, I mentioned Poston, Nick Taylor, Minwoo. Eckroat was another one I wanted to look at. Horschel, Harry Hall. Obviously, I'm not getting to all these guys, but those were, and Bhatia. So those were like the 6 that popped out. How do I narrow that down? And are these guys that I want to play in the non-Scottie feel like these were all the thoughts that were running through my head that I wanted to talk through with you. So I'm going to feel like an idiot if I don't bet Nick Taylor and he wins again.
I guess I don't see myself betting Nick Taylor. Boccia is one I've been staring at all morning. The best non-Scottie number I could see is 45, and the best with Scottie number I could see is 70. So I don't know. I don't know that I can give up those 25 points. Maybe I'm supposed to bet a little like 80-20, like split the bet, but I don't know. See, like I'm a mess. I'm a mess with what I'm supposed to do with this. But it was Boccia and Thiegs. Like that's why I sort of mentioned this like 40, like this right middle is where I'm potentially staring at my bets. You mentioned Minwoo. I could be an easy sucker for something like that as well. Was curious to see how Clanton would be priced this week because he was like a late announcement as a addition, and I don't think he was on those early numbers. But I don't know. It's not high enough for me to bite.
Here's
60 is what I see.
Here's the interesting thing. I mean, 60 is not a bad number for him, but here's the interesting thing about Nick Taylor. He won the Sony, gained 6 strokes on approach. Then he came 12th at the American Express. Obviously, it's only the 2 rounds of weighted data that we get from the stadium course, but he gained over 4 strokes on approach. He gained over 3 strokes last week against that elevated field at Pebble, while losing a slightly off the tee. He was bad around the greens and couldn't putt. Like, he putts when he gets to this place. He gained 9 strokes last year, 7.4 the year before. He's come first and second the last 2 years, and he's in form with the stats that we want to see. Yeah, I get that he just won a month ago. I think I'm going to bet Taylor again. Yeah. We just talked about, here are all the losers who don't win. Who's the guy who wins? Oh, it's Nick Taylor.
Yeah, honestly, and a guy I literally looked right through last week, despite it like being another pro-am and thinking like a nice setup for him. I didn't even like think about Sepp Straka last week.
Neither
Maybe
did I.
because he did just win.
Yeah. Well, someone brought that to my attention. Like what? I totally forget who it was. People blend together in my mind when I read Twitter. But they had mentioned like how popular of a bet would Straka have been at Pebble Beach if he didn't win the American Express, but he came second.
Like, we would have been the Monday morning quarterbacking like losers, like diving full in at the slash number. Yeah, it's so weird. I love this thing. Doing the week in, week out golf betting and the puzzle pieces and all the things that go into it and how, someone that isn't hard into the model, it's easier for the hardened model guys because they just trust it and it delivers. This thing, like it overthinks and it's not good. It's not good. And I totally agree with that assessment of golf betting Twitter. Straka just finished second at the MX. We're idiots like that. And everything you just said about those approaches, Taylor seems like a great bet. The way you've laid out the approaches, the dog factor, the course history, he was even good the year before he won.
Yeah, he was second.
This is a bet. This might be a bet. Yeah. No.
How do you feel about Billy? Billy, sweet Billy boy, I knew you would come back.
I'm more likely to make a fucking card of like the opposite ends of the dogs. Well, you're discussing the dogs of the PGA Tour betting tier. Billy's been great. I always enjoy seeing him play well while never having a cent on him.
Yeah, he was good for me last week. Obviously, he was a part of that lineup that I talked about. I think I'd rather go Akshay over Billy just because I like Akshay better. And that's just where I end up following. It's Poston who really does stick out to me, though. He's not playing great golf right now. It's because he can't putt. And that's like the thing that he does is he putts. So you just bet on him and hopefully he figures out what's wrong with his putter and gets it back together.
I mean, he's one of those, like, if you're worried about the putter and you want to bet him, I could easily convince myself that that thing is going to flip on a dime. Like a lot of high-end putters always seem to do. They don't stay in those ruts very long. And this is the only thing about betting the hardened putter guy isn't this where the bad putters, like, have the leg up?
They
Like,
can't.
isn't their strength neutralized here?
Well, yes, but Poston's been the golf Poston's been playing. Like he did just win in the desert in Las Vegas, and I think a lot of people will point to that for Tom Kim because he won back-to-back Shriners, and Poston just won there. So it's hard to bad talk Tom Kim and then say I want to bet JT Poston, but it's his ball striking and his tee to green that's been really good. The past two tournaments, be it the Amex and Pebble Beach. Again, both shorter courses than we're going to necessarily get here. But the driving's been good. The approach has been good. His chipping was bad at Pebble, but he had gained in 6 straight before that. He's had good Players' Championships results over the year. But the putting has been -5, -4, -2, -2. Well, the ball striking numbers have been good. Like, if I can catch him and the ball striking stays the same, and he just turns back into regular JT Poston, then you might have a winner.
All those guys, man, you like Harry. If you're betting, like, I don't know.
Well, I got to pick and
Poston's the
choose between these guys.
Yeah.
Is the problem.
And then I don't know. I am more of a sucker for like the complete opposite end of the profile and betting. Like a Minwoo can putt, but
Well, Minwoo was interesting last week because like he was like middle of the pack, like even to the low end, especially because of Spyglass in particular in driving. Like if he can get it back together driving, which is something he normally does, I think he ranks second off the tee of all players last year. That's his strength. That if he can do that and just do what he did the rest of the week, then he'd be fine. Then he would be in contention here. I always just worry that every time that we go in on Minwoo, it's just like he gains 8 strokes off the tee and loses everywhere else.
I don't know. This is the range though. This is the range where I'm a sucker. Because even a guy like Mav, I'm staring at it 60-1.
Listen, Mav may have got his win at the RSM. He's a part of that gutless power rankings too. Don't forget that.
I mean, sure. I mean, he lost over 5.5 strokes putting last week at Pebble. He finished 6th here last year.
Yeah. But he, like, from what you're talking about, he's another one who's going to gain. He's actually somewhat similar to Minwoo in that regard, although Minwoo just feels more exciting for some reason. But
Yeah.
with Poston, like, I feel like his ball striking numbers are just strong enough at the moment, and we see that approach game from him enough where Mav had it going on, he got his win, but now he's not reaching back to those levels of approach numbers that we need to see to win a tournament, where he now needs to make it up off the tee and with the putter. And would that even be enough? With Poston at the moment, like, he's driving the ball well, he's hitting his irons well. If he just like putts like he normally does, which is like a Mav level of putting, then it feels like he could actually win. The problem is now, like, it's not even do I play these guys in the non-Scottie market. I'll play them in the Scottie market to see if I can get that win. Do I play them in the each way market? Is that sort of my hedge against Scottie, or I just say, screw it, win only?
I mean, I feel like might be sound dumb Sunday, but I feel like for now you should stick with the each way.
I may or may not. Like, if I spend money on the each way, then I have to double the bet that I would normally have to get their top 5 or top 8 to go along with it. And I get slightly reduced odds on the outright as well. Or instead of betting 3 guys with an each way, I can spend less money and bet 4 guys win only. That's the trade-off.
Or just bet the whole thing win without Scottie.
Or do that. I mean, in a way, No, I mean that you can convince yourself that's the way, but that if you play a top 5 and you're in the non-Scottie market and you're like, oh, I'm really playing for this top 5, why wouldn't you just bet it without Scottie? So yeah, there's a lot of different things here. Is there any bombs that you liked this week? Because I had a few that I mentioned early. I like Hoffman at 110-1. I played the top 8 at 100-1 with him. Rico 200, CT Pan 150. Those are all with 8 places. And there's some other big names at the bottom here. I had mentioned Sam Stevens. Max Homa is 100-1 in this field. The Gim Reaper plays really well at this style of course. Nikolai Højgaard's 120-1. Do you feel like those are good enough names?
I'm staring at 150 enhanced win Nick Dunlap on Rivers.
That's interesting. The thing with Dunlap, he did very well. I just want to double check this. Feel like he was like one of the leaders in approach last week and just couldn't do anything else, which is what you're going to get from him. Yeah, he gained 2.8 strokes on approach. Just was horrible off the tee. Lost 6.1 strokes in 3 rounds at Pebble. He's been pretty consistently bad off the tee for a while now. He dropped over 4.5 strokes at Sony off the tee and still came in 10th place. A lot of that was putter. But if you can figure out the driver just a little bit, feel like it would actually be pretty good for him.
So you're saying there'll be a lot of like shot 1 to native area me just hoping it's a clean lie and not having to like chunk it out of from under the jumping choya or whatever they call those.
Based on his statistical profile at the moment with how he is driving it off the tee, you could probably expect him to be pulling a few prickers of cacti out of him by some point on the weekend.
I get past the 100. I'm kind of looking at a lot of the same names that always sort of attract me past here.
I like Dunlap. I like that shout.
You mentioned Højgaard, Thor Bjornsson. I don't like I did say at these like north of 100. I feel like I gotta just keep maybe peppering it. Does my boy Mac fit here?
Mac Hughes or Mac Meisner?
Sorry. Yeah, Messier. Yeah.
Yeah, Mark Messier? Sure. Yeah. Why not? I mean, I think a lot of this depends. Like, Thor Bjornsson would be interesting depending on how you project him out. And I project him out to be very good, obviously, just like Clanton. Because, again, scroll back and look at the name of some of these winners. Scottie, Brooks, Webb, Ricky, Gary Woodland, Hideki, Brooks. Those are real dudes. Like, who of these guys do you think are real dudes? That's probably why I get to Akshay, because I think he's a real dude.
Exactly. Yep. No, and Sahith.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, I totally think like you.
So if you go deeper, that's why Dunlap actually, I wasn't even thinking of Dunlap, but that makes a lot of sense. Like, he could be someone we look in 2 years who's like, 8th on the betting board at the Masters or something like that. Like, that's his projection based on his talent. He's already won twice on tour as a part of his rookie year. His inability to drive the ball was a problem. And the other one you said, Nikolai Højgaard. Like, why not? Like, Højgaard was in the second to last group or third to last group at the Masters last year?
You're right. I gotta not care about a Matty Schmidt or a Rico Hoy at 200-1.
And I bet Rico Hoy at 200-1. I'm the asshole who did that, but now thinking about it, that's why I didn't want to invest too much before I talked to you, because I think that makes more sense, doesn't it? Just who are some name brand players that you could see being good? Those are the type of guys that win this tournament.
I think that is well said. But sorry, just to You have bet Hoy at 200?
I do, yeah. I bet Rico with the
placings, obviously.
Yeah, I bet all those guys with the placings.
And I am still thinking about it, Pat. Like, I audible out loud laughed multiple times last week, especially as Buddy was having a good run at certain points. But that Eric Colcane problem line that Cam dropped has just fucking ravaged me still. Like, I guess the laughs are out of the system. But him referencing his Eric Colcane problem, like, he is a legend. Like, Cam is the best. You always got to be on your toes, because those things, like, who does it better than that guy? Nobody.
No one. Nobody. Well, it said someone even tweeted at him like, Colcane off to a hell of a start on Sunday. He was like a birdie eagle through, and then it was like 10 minutes later, Cole made like 3 bogeys or something. Cam just tweeted back at the guy, he'll run out of product Sunday afternoon. Just hoping for a top 20.
Yeah, exactly. running thin on product. For like I totally bail though. Is this open? What about Novak Pro-Am winner?
What do you mean? Oh, Novak won the Pro-Am?
Yeah, so
With who?
Paul's boy finally brought home something.
Who was his partner?
I'm not sure. I just opened Detri's page. It's a lot of typical Detri, yeah.
Oh, the Underdog has TGL on it now. Let's go.
It is Boston that Rory off his win. That'll be buzzy.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's a great time to bet again. I mean, Rory's team just lost to Tiger's team, and we all kind of acknowledge Tiger's team sucks.
Yeah.
And their favorites, which I thought was crazy. Like I've already bet on Los Angeles, but Los Angeles was plus 105. They're even money now.
And is it tonight or it's Monday because there's no footballs anymore?
No, it's back to Tuesday this week.
Okay, don't fool me again.
So yeah, minus 103 is the best number on market I found right now. Oh yeah, match winner Los Angeles minus 103. They crushed in their first match, by the way.
I don't really feel great about where I stand right now, but
Oh, you want to hear a fun comment from my wife about golf? When she came home yesterday from that trip, I was watching Pebble Beach with the kids. They were just doing something in the living room, and I was watching Pebble Beach. She walked in, looked at the TV. She goes, "Outdoor golf? Ew." Because she's been enjoying TGL, like when I throw it on in the background.
yeah, because you know why? It's probably good presentation.
And it's snappy. Like, she knows when I'm watching golf, I'm like invested for 7 hours. I think she likes it. Go ahead.
Sorry. Like the underlying tones in them for the outrage baiting at the moment around golf that they go out and call a delay of game on Tiger was awesome, by the way.
It was pretty funny.
Awesome. Yeah.
So those are the PGA. So TGL, I'm taking LA Golf Club over Boston Common for Tuesday evening at minus 103. LIV is back this week. First event of year. Can you believe it's year 4 of LIV?
Yeah, well, I mean, crazy. Yeah, good for them. I will say you think I would have known like more about who Rick Shields was other than like knowing he's popular?
It's a
because
name.
golf lifestyle isn't like
It's not my thing
people
either.
think like I'm such a big golf guy. Like, how am I not like obsessed with like the golf lifestyle part of the internet? But I'm just not like golf lifestyle content. As much as I love a golf lifestyle, it's not like really what I'm into on the internet. And I think it's a great move for LIV.
Yeah,
Because
why not?
you got to winning over you. Like, YouTube's obviously this huge thing right now. So buy inroads with the big YouTube people. Like, it kind of just makes sense in the way like Phil's killing it too. So LIV's got the right idea in like teaming up, even if it's costing them money. Like, who cares to them? Like, giving these YouTubers the bag. And that's all. So
LIV Riyadh will be on Fox this weekend. It's under the lights, so it'll probably be in prime time. And obviously, it will conclude before the Super Bowl because it'll be like the night before. So that'll be great. So I have a bet with Cust about actually the ratings on this. Will any day of LIV outdraw the opening match of TGL? So I think it was like 930,000 viewers or something like that. I took the under, he took the over, and I have no idea how this is going to do. It's a hard sell, especially time of night, and it being in Saudi Arabia with golf underneath the lights, and no one knowing that it's actually on Fox would be was the biggest thing that I kind of bet against with him. Although Cust really lays down money on things, and he did lay down money on this. So I was very surprised that this is where he went. Phil, despite his comments about how LIV is great to go to and his appearances with like Grant Horvath and guys on YouTube, has withdrawn from this tournament. Do you know who is taking Phil's spot on his team, the High Flyers?
I saw that. Congratulations, Ollie.
Do you think he'll wear a hat because it's in the Middle East? I guess it's at nighttime, so it won't be a problem for him.
No, he will not. He will not wear a hat.
So
I don't believe.
Okay, so our friends at CoolBet have odds out for this right now. Rahm 7-1, Hatton 7-1, Neiman plus 750, Bryson 8-1, Brooks 14, Cam Smith 14. Then you got like Patty Reed at 22-1, who couldn't even come close at the Make It Rain Masters last week. Answer, Louis, Puig, who had I think it was 8 under in his final round in Bahrain, ended up inside of a top 10. Sergio, the Burmista Mista lady, he's up there. You got Dustin and Gooch, Casey. Is there anyone that stood out to you? Because I kind of like Burmeister at 33-1.
So I feel like in the past, I've said that I feel like the opening live event is probably a good chance for the like not stars.
So McKibben, who just joined?
No, I mean, sure, maybe. He was just in the Middle East, so he's been playing kind of a normal, or no, I don't want to say normal, but like I feel like the superstars on live for the most part, this is me just being armchair psychologist. A lot of them, like part of the attraction of live and the PGA Tours tried to mimic it is like actually create an off season. I think a lot of guys like probably enjoy having the off season. So I could blindly assume the first event might have an opening for down the board. But my main takeaway in looking at the odds, Pat, just reaffirms my thoughts on those Hatton futures that we made. Is when he is like playing with like other really good players, he is priced with them. Now, I'm not saying he should be priced the same as John Rahm or Bryson for majors, but he shouldn't be like 5x them. That's my thought.
So that number is still out there at multiple books. I'm looking at CoolBet right now. Tyrrell Hatton PGA Championship this year, 50-1. Hideki remains 50-1 there as well. That's also something that I've bet. I forgot if I said this earlier in the show, but we're going to record a golf major preview for a few weeks' time. We always do it during the off season, but I think it's better now that we have like more information about how players are playing, and like it always feels like such a scramble to do it on like December 27th that I think is a perfect time to actually do this.
And while we did like just mention some nice futures that we think will hold strong, I feel like for the most part, the legs have been so cut out of the future markets that it's probably better to do this preview like with a month and a half of real golf in the books. So I think you're onto something.
So McKibben,
even if it's just a circumstance of you needing to fill some I'm going away pre-records, I think it's going to work.
Which is exactly what I'm doing. But I'll actually be doing shows live from the Dominican Republic with you, because that is Honda Week, and I don't want to miss out on that, one of my favorite tournaments. So McKibben as high as 65-1. He was T6 in the desert like 3 weeks ago in Dubai with Rory and all those guys. So why not? I'm going with McKibben. McKibben 65-1. And Burmeister 36 I could probably get behind. What about Louis? I feel like Louis got to get one of these live wins, or is it just he can't win events?
Two things. One, Louis would probably be the veteran that I'm like speaking about the most.
But no, yeah, but he's this every week. He's used to this. He's
I guess
used to just being off.
Listen, remember what I said before Century about Hideki?
Yeah.
So just ignore me
Louis.
on like what I think is in lead up to a guy starting his season. That's a good point. I would also say some players have not like complain would be the wrong word, because I think everyone associated with live like they're getting paid to play. So you accept that there might be variables that like cost you in an event when you're making so much money without even having to place. That being said, I think a lot of players are a bit concerned about like the dynamics of the night golf and just like the feels of it. It's like a very new thing. I think some equilibriums will be off. I'm not really sure who that benefits, but I don't know. Like gimmick screams like Reed and Sergio to me. If I had to pick from like a decent betting number,
I think I'd want to. I think this kind of harkens back to my point about TGL. That the reason that we became our Bay Area golf club because they had all the young guys. And they had the right skill set for it. I think young guys might be the move here. Their vision at nighttime will be better, if nothing else.
So Puig McKibben card?
Yeah,
like that's
Puig, McKibben, and Freddie Ketchup at 220-1 or whatever. Forget how you... Yeah, I'm trying to spell that, guys. I have no idea how he's playing.
Frederick Ketterup. I don't have a clue. I'm actually scrolling to see who's at the bottom. Oh,
Anthony Kim.
Yeah.
Anthony
That
Kim.
wasn't a Kim joke. I was just wondering like who's priced where.
Yeah, it would have been. I mean,
Bubba's
Phil was the second to last favorite before he withdrew, and now it's Junichiro Kuzoma. Like, there's names on here I've never heard of before. Who is Max Lee?
DraftKings has Peters at 100.
I mean, you bet him at like 30-1 in harder events than this.
Yeah. I don't have a strong feel other than I'm excited to watch it. And I think you're right. People don't know it's on, but if you like golf and you're even like a casual, if you stumble by it, you are stopping.
I thought there was more to that. There wasn't.
No, like you'll stop. Like there's no way you are channel surfing by Bryson hitting a golf ball under the lights.
Agreed.
And like Bryson's the ceiling name maybe, but take any of those top 15 names. Like the lights are on and you're at home. It's dark out. Like you're stopping. You're watching. It's just a matter of the casuals even knowing that this is there for them. I don't think they do.
I mean, I barely remembered it was on. If Cust wasn't in our DMs every single day telling us this is the coolest thing that has ever happened to golf, then I probably would forget about it too.
Cust needs one of those Letterman jackets.
Oh, God. He would love it too. You know, I mean, we'll talk about this on the spread show, I think. But, you know, Cust went out and he hit the slopes this weekend.
I am so excited to get the debrief because I was at the Mount. I was taking my kids for ski lessons this weekend, so I was in ski culture. I can't wait to hear about. Is he a ski? Is he like a proficient skier, Pat?
I got a video from it, and I will say no.
Is he a beginner? Because I'm not going to laugh if he's a beginner.
He was on the bunny hill, the bunny slope.
Okay, but is he like learning how to ski?
He's the same guy that told us that hella skiing wasn't difficult. Put it that way.
Sure. Yeah.
How hard could it be? Well, we'll get his response on the spread show.
Fair enough. Yeah.
All right, so let's do some quick picks between the 3 tours this week. Super long show. We got a lot of golf. So for Waste Management, I'm going to bet Thigala, Nick Taylor, and Akshay. Those 3 for sure, and I'll add to that during the column, the Wednesday show. There's a lot of time to make bets this week in Phoenix, and that will be with Scottie Market and the bombs, Hoffman, Rico, and CT Pan, all with 8 places. And I'm going to bet Dunlap and Nikolai Højgaard from beyond 100-1 as well. I think I've talked myself into a circle on those after what you brought up, so that's what I'm going to go with. On LIV, I'm going to go with McKibben at 65, Burmeister at 36-1, and I might get to Louis as well. That starts on Thursday evening, Friday in Saudi Arabia, Thursday night on Fox over here. TGL, I'm taking LA over Boston, and for the Qatar Masters, I'm going to take Joe Dean, the birdie machine, 66-1 with 8 places, and Tapio, 200-1 with 8 places.
You are far more of a developed human than I am with where you stand right now. So I mentioned those futures, JT 25 and 70. I don't even know that I would bet Ann right now at 70.
Would you bet, if you didn't have any bets, would you bet Justin Thomas at 12-1?
No. And we're done. We are done. I bet him last, like this is it. This is a 2-week window. We are done. I don't think I bet him for years. And I've just been suckered in because I've had this future, and I really do think he's going to be onto something quickly in the season. But I can't wait. I can't wait to just not be a part of him after this week. So I mentioned those, and then as we talked through today, I'm like swimming in that like 50, 60 range, and it's guys that I think can hang with the top. And you said it, Thiegs and Akshay. So that's where I am. And I'm sure I'll throw some bombs and do some other things, but 4 bets in. I said I'm going to be overexposed, but now that we talked about it, I really just don't want to. I just don't want to. I don't trust myself.
You're going to have a lot of stress with the Philadelphia Eagles this weekend. I'm not, because I got them both, so it's great news.
Okay, yes and no, but I am planning, like I'm considering a 50-50 hedge.
Well, it's close enough that you can do it right now too. Like
Yes.
even if you go, like I'm just looking at it. Let's say you have 10, you're going to win 10 grand on the Eagles. Let's say that. And if I go to Super Bowl right now, Super Bowl licks, we got money line itself. Like you'll pay a 25% vig, and if you take the -1.5, I guess if you take the -1.5 on the Chiefs, it's -110. I mean that's the bet, isn't it?
Yeah, I mean, I could get middled if they went on a 2-point conversion at the end of a game.
I guess.
Buying,
you know what? Would it be? Do you want to pay the
about
extra?
buying the half point just to get it to the clean one?
How much? How much is that half point?
It would cost like 7 cents at least.
At that point, wouldn't you just do money line?
No, that'd be 8 more cents. Listen,
It would be 8 more cents, but if it landed on one, then you win none of the bets. You just get your money back on the Chiefs bet.
Yeah, but I'd be mad. Oh, we'll see. I'm gonna do something. Because I'm scared shitless of Mahomes, as I should be. And if it was the Bills, I was for sure doing a 50-50 hedge just because I love the Bills and I'd be at like a Bills Super Bowl party. So I wasn't going into that. But now it's the Chiefs, like I still have to hedge. It's fucking Mahomes in the Super Bowl. It's too much money. But I could take this all the way up to game time. Like if I got a golfer in the hunt, like maybe I wouldn't even hedge. Like that's my hedge. I just want on my golfer. Now we're gonna ride or die this fucking game. So we'll see. And if I overbet, I've got the safety net of this Eagles ticket that I could just hedge even more on. So we'll see. I'm responsibly all in my own thoughts right now, big time. You don't want to be in here. You do not want to be in here. Trust me.
One and done selections for the week. I won last week with Jason Day. Your Matt McNeely did not turn out well. I forgot who Cust took, but he finished a shot behind me. I can probably pull that up, effort that in front of me on the screen right now. He took Colin Morikawa, so I've pulled within $60K at Cust in first place. None of it really matters because none of us are even at $1 million through 4 events so far. He is taking Tom Kim in the one and done. Who are you taking?
I will take Hideki.
Yeah, that's where I was actually leaning to. But I think I might use him at a bigger event later on because this is not obviously an elevated event. It's a good week to go down the board. I'm going to take Nick Taylor.
Okay,
Screw it.
Like it.
I'm not going to use him anywhere else. This is the last time I'll have a chance to use him at an event where I'm betting him anyway. Why not?
Yep.
All right. That was a long one today. That'll do it on the Pat Mayo Experience. Check out the research show that came out on the weekend on the Pat Mayo Experience feed. Code MAYO at Underdog. I've already released a bunch of Super Bowl plays mixed with golf plays. I'll have more coming this week too. So Code Mayo gets you a bunch of free stuff, and they're giving away money at Underdog this week. So if you don't have an account, you're probably going to want to get in on the Super Bowl anyway. This way you can mix and match with the Waste Management Phoenix Open as well. So Code Mayo over there. Other than that, fantasynational.com/Mayo will get you 20% off. All right. I'll be back Tuesday with Jeff and Tim for Super Bowl. Then Wednesday with Tambo live at 9 a.m. Eastern Time on Mayo Media Network. If you have any questions, we'll be building some lineups, going through the weather, and making our final bets. All right? I'm Pat Mayo. Thanks for watching. We'll see you next time.
Pat Mayo Experience! Experience!